In ministry, there are many joyful occasions when I'm privileged to be part of people's lives, but there are also moments of great sadness, and they remain with you forever. July 2014 was such a time when I received a phone call to say that David had been found dead in his flat. I've been asked on many occasions recently about the cross that people will see when I've been recording the services on a Sunday morning. This is a cross that David made for me and gave to me. So this is David's story intertwined with God's story. When I became a minister in 2002, I was sent to serve 4 churches in Chorley in Lancashire. Before I started, I went to visit the churches and to meet the people. One of the first people I met was David. He was a senior lay leader at Spenmore Lane Methodist Church in Coppell. He made me very welcome, and I was really looking forward to working with him in the years to come. David's family had been part of Spenmore Lane for many generations. They'd held positions of influence and leadership in the church during all that time, and David was no exception. He'd grown up in the Sunday school and he became a Christian in his teens. He met his wife through the church. They'd both grown up within the church family, and all of their lives revolved around much of what was going on within the church family. David was trained to be a local preacher. He was very gifted at writing prayers and meditations that people found really helpful on their own spiritual journey. When I arrived at Spenmore Lane 18 years ago, it had stained glass windows. They were very old, very beautiful, but incredibly drafty. And the decision was taken to remove them from the church and to replace them with UPVC white window frames. But they wanted to incorporate the original design. This was done very sensitively, and it made the building a lot warmer. The old glass was heaped up at the side of the building, and I for one forgot all about it. Unfortunately, David struggled with an addiction to alcohol, which he kept very well hidden from everybody who knew him. And his life entered a very difficult period. People at church lovingly supported him and his family as he tried to turn his life around. It was an incredibly dark time for him and for everyone involved. His addiction became too much for the family, and they struggled to deal with it, and David moved out of the marital home. Over a period of time, with many bumps in the road, but with continued support from family and friends and the amazing work of professionals, David was able to put coping strategies in place, and he started to rebuild his life. Although during this time I'd forgotten about the stained glass taken out of the church, others hadn't, and as part of his rehabilitation, David worked with a skilled artisan who took the old stained glass and wood from the church and made it into something new. This beautiful cross and stand. It was given to me when I left Chorley in 2009, and it remains one of my most treasured gifts from that period of my life in ministry. David's life took a new turn and he started to support others who were in the place where he had been. With his personal experience and understanding, he was able to walk with them in their recovery. Relationships were reforming, and faith and a new church family were supportive and caring. When everyone thought that David was on the other side and that life looked more hopeful and positive, unbeknown to everyone, and hiding his wounds very deep, David struggled to cope, and sadly he took his own life at the age of 48. This cross reminds me of Spenmore Lane Methodist Church. It reminds me of David, who was gifted, deeply loved, but like us all, flawed and sometimes damaged by what life holds for us. The cross was formed from mismatched pieces of glass, recreated to form something beautiful out of something from which had been broken. It's what Christ did for us on the cross. Henri Nouwen calls him the wounded healer. This cross is very special to me because it reminds me that Christ takes our brokenness, our flaws, our failings and our anxieties, and through his love and compassion and care reshapes us and heals us into something new and beautiful if we will let him. As our lockdown continues, you may be struggling with things going on around you or inside you. Please don't struggle alone. It's okay not to feel okay. As a minister, I want to say that Christ is with you, that Christ remains with you and he will never leave you. But sometimes, as a child once said, we need God with skin on, i.e. another human being to talk to and to share with. And if that is how you are feeling at the moment, there are people here who will help you and listen to you and pray with you too. If you need someone, please get in touch, whether via the website or by Facebook. There are other organisations too where people are waiting to listen and to help. And we'll put the telephone number of Samaritans on the website too. The cross reminds us that we are all broken, but with Jesus Christ, he lovingly puts us back together. Amen.